The rehearsal dinner had descended into what my family did best, discussing my failures while I sat 3 feet away. And Natalie will be alone again, my sister Amanda announced to her future in-laws. We've given up asking if she'll bring a date. She's married to her work. I sat at the end of the table watching my family perform their familiar routine. At 36 I should have been immune, but Amanda's triumphant tone still stung. What kind of work? Amanda's fiancé's mother asked politely. Some policy research thing, my mother Patricia answered dismissively. Government consulting. Very boring, very solitary. No wonder she can't meet anyone. That boring policy research thing was my position as Senior Policy Director for the National Governors Association. For 12 years I'd been shaping legislation, advising state executives, and building coalitions that changed how government functioned. My work had influenced education reform in 15 states and healthcare policy nationwide. They'd never asked for details. We're seating Natalie at table 9, Amanda continued, with Marcus's teenage cousins. She won't mind, she's used to being by herself. Marcus cleared his throat uncomfortably. Amanda, maybe we should seat Natalie with adults. Every table is strategically arranged. There's literally no appropriate table for a single 36-year-old. She softened slightly. Besides, Nat's good with kids. Right, Nat? Good with kids. Code for, we need a babysitter. Whatever you need, I said quietly, checking my phone. A text from James. Security detail confirmed for Saturday. 5 p.m. You sure you want me to come? Last chance before this gets complicated. James Thornton, Governor of Virginia and the man I'd been secretly seeing for 8 months. We'd met during a policy summit, bonded over education legislation and somehow fallen in love. We'd kept the relationship intensely private. James was recently divorced mid-campaign for re-election. But last week he'd been adamant. I'm tired of hiding, he'd said. You're the most important person in my life. I'm not spending your sister's wedding pretending you're single. I typed back, I'm sure. Fair warning. My family thinks I'm pathetic. His response. Then they're about to learn otherwise. See you Saturday. My father Richard stood to toast. To Amanda. You've always known what you wanted. Success, partnership, a real life. We're so proud. The unspoken comparison hung heavy. Amanda knew what she wanted. I apparently did not. Marcus's father stood next. Amanda comes from a good family, hardworking people. Not everyone has advantages, but the Kimballs raised daughters who contribute in their own ways. In their own ways. The condescension was barely veiled. Amanda beamed. The wedding day arrived with perfect autumn weather. The ceremony at the Riverside Club began at 4 o'clock. I performed my bridesmaid duties quietly, holding Amanda's train, managing her bouquet, staying out of prominent photos. The ceremony was beautiful. Amanda looked radiant. Marcus seemed genuinely kind, if oblivious to his family's subtle disdain for mine. The reception began at 5:30. I found table 9 wedged near the DJ booth. My tablemates were Marcus's teenage cousins, ages 15 to 19, already absorbed in their phones. Hi, I said, sitting down. I'm Natalie, Amanda's sister. They nodded without looking up. One was live-streaming on TikTok. I checked my phone. A text from James, running 15 minutes late. Traffic from Richmond worse than expected. Security is already in position. I glanced around and noticed them, men and women in dark suits positioned strategically around the perimeter. The venue coordinator looking confused and panicked. Marcus's father speaking urgently into his phone. I typed back, I see your detail. Drive safely. At the head table, toasts began. The empty chair beside me at table 9 felt like a deliberate statement. My father stood first. To Amanda, our ambitious daughter who always knew what mattered. Career, yes, but more importantly, partnership and family. She's built a complete life. A complete life. The implication was clear. Mine was incomplete. Marcus's father stood next. I want to welcome the Kimball family. Amanda, you've shown remarkable determination in building your career while maintaining your priorities. That's a balance not everyone achieves. Not everyone achieves. He glanced at me briefly. Amanda stood for her own speech. I want to thank my sister Natalie for being here. I know it's hard for her to watch her younger sister get married when she's still focusing on her career. But Nat, I appreciate your support. Even if your life looks different from mine, we're still sisters. Even if your life looks different. The pity in her voice was genuine, which made it worse. The teenagers at my table didn't even look up. Then I heard it, the shift in energy, the murmur rippling through the crowd. James Thornton walked in. The governor of Virginia entered flanked by his security detail, and the reception fell into stunned silence. James was immediately recognizable. His face had been on campaign billboards, news programs, political magazines. But he wasn't here for politics. He was here for me. James scanned the room, found me with teenagers at table 9, and his jaw tightened. Then he walked directly through the shocked crowd toward my table. "Natalie," he said, arriving with his Secret Service detail hovering. "I'm so sorry I'm late." He leaned down and kissed me, not a polite greeting but a real kiss that made everything absolutely clear. The teenagers finally looked up. One whispered, "Holy shit, is that the governor?" James pulled out the empty chair and sat down at table 9. "You must be Marcus's cousins." "I'm James. Natalie's boyfriend." The reception erupted in whispers. Amanda stood at the head table, her face cycling through confusion and shock. My mother's champagne glass was suspended mid-air. Marcus's father had gone pale. "Natalie." Amanda's voice came out strained. "What is happening?" I stood up, taking James's hand. "Amanda, everyone, I'd like you to meet James Thornton, governor of Virginia and my boyfriend of 8 months. "Governor Thornton," my father repeated slowly. "The Governor James Thornton?" "That's right, sir," James said, extending his hand. "It's wonderful to finally meet Natalie's family. She speaks so highly of you." Marcus's father pushed through the crowd, his condescension replaced by political calculation. "Governor Thornton, this is an unexpected honor. Had we known you'd be attending." "You would have what?" James interrupted gently. "Seated Natalie somewhere besides table 9 with the teenagers?" The comment landed like a grenade. Guests fell completely silent. Amanda's face flushed red. "We didn't know she was bringing someone," Amanda managed. "She didn't bring me," James corrected. "I chose to come support my girlfriend at her sister's wedding." One of the guests from Marcus's father's law firm stood up, Senator Patricia Hayes. "Governor Thornton, I didn't expect to see you here. How do you know the family?" "I'm dating Natalie," James said simply. "We met during the governor's education policy summit. She was presenting research on cross-state education reform. Most impressive policy analysis I'd encountered in years." Senator Hayes turned to me with visible surprise. "Natalie Kimball? You're the Kimball who authored the NGA policy brief on education funding? The one being implemented in 15 states." "Yes," I said quietly. "That work was exceptional," Senator Hayes continued. "It completely restructured how we approach state education budgets." "She's not just with the NGA," James said. "She's the senior policy director. She's been instrumental in shaping legislation across the country. She's the reason half the governors trust NGA policy recommendations." My mother finally found her voice. "Natalie, you're dating the governor and you didn't tell us?" "I tried to tell you I was seeing someone," I said calmly. "At Easter I mentioned I'd met someone through work. You changed the subject to Amanda's wedding cake. At Dad's birthday I started to explain my relationship was getting serious." Amanda interrupted with bridesmaid dress options. "But the governor of Virginia," my father sputtered. "Actually, that's exactly what he is," I said. "Someone I love. Someone who respects my work. The fact that he's governor is secondary to the fact that he's kind, brilliant, and makes me happy." James addressed the room. "I apologize for disrupting this beautiful wedding. Amanda, Marcus, you have my congratulations. But I need to say something about Natalie." He looked at table 9's position near the DJ booth. "I've worked with dozens of policy directors across the country. Natalie is the most talented strategist I've ever encountered. Her work has changed lives, improved education for millions of children, restructured healthcare access, reformed criminal justice systems. She's being considered for deputy director of the National Governors Association." Marcus's father recovered enough to attempt networking. "Governor, I had no idea about Natalie's position. That's remarkable work." "It is remarkable," James agreed. "Which is why I'm confused about why she's seated at the children's table while everyone discusses her boring policy work," and pities her for being single. Amanda sat down heavily. The photographer was frantically adjusting his camera. Several guests had phones out, recording. Senator Hayes pulled out her phone, searching. Her eyes widened. Natalie, did you also author the healthcare policy brief that Governor Martinez implemented in Texas? Yes. And the criminal justice reform recommendations 6 states adopted last year? Yes. By God. You're the most influential policy director in the country right now. James pulled out his phone, showing Amanda something. This is the invitation to next month's inaugural ball. I'm being honored as chair of the National Governors Association. Natalie will be attending as my partner. It's being announced publicly on Monday. Amanda stared at the invitation, then at me, her expression mixing shock with jealousy. The inaugural ball. With all the governors. And the vice president, James added. And about 300 political leaders. Most of whom already know and respect Natalie's work. My mother was crying now. Natalie, sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? I did tell you, I said. You just didn't listen. You were too busy explaining I was married to my work and couldn't find a date. Marcus approached, genuinely apologetic. Natalie, I'm sorry. For the seating arrangement, for my family's comments. You deserve better. Yes, I agreed. I do. Amanda walked to the DJ booth and took the microphone. The room fell silent. I need to apologize to my sister, Amanda began. Natalie has supported me through this entire wedding process. She listened to me obsess over flowers and seating arrangements and never complained. Her voice wavered. In return, I seated her at table 9 with teenagers. I told everyone she was married to boring work and couldn't find a date. I had no idea she was dating Governor Thornton. I had no idea she was one of the most influential policy directors in the country. I had no idea because I never bothered to ask. Tears streamed down her face. Natalie, I'm so sorry. You deserved better from me. From all of us. Please forgive me. The ballroom was silent, waiting for my response. I stood up, James beside me. I forgive you, Amanda. But things need to change. Real conversations about my life. Real interest in my work. Not just when it's impressive or politically connected. Absolutely, Amanda said. And you're moving to a proper table. Both of you. Right now. Staff scrambled to add chairs at the head table. The reception continued, but everything had shifted. Guests who'd ignored me now wanted to network. Marcus's law firm partners suddenly found my policy work fascinating. During cake cutting, my father made an impromptu speech. I want to apologize to my daughter Natalie. We failed to see her accomplishments. We're committed to doing better. As the evening wound down, Amanda pulled me aside. Nat, I'm so sorry. Not just for today but for years of dismissing you. You didn't miss it, Amanda. You chose not to see it. I know. And I'm ashamed. She paused. The inaugural ball. That's incredible. You're incredible. Thank you. Will you tell me about it? About your work, about James, about everything I've missed? Yes, I said. But you have to actually listen this time. I promise. As James and I prepared to leave, security detail forming around us, I looked back at the Riverside Club. At the wedding where I'd been mocked for my empty chair, seated with teenagers, pitted for my incomplete life. They'd classified me as a failure, someone who couldn't find a date and was married to boring work. They hadn't known about my relationship with the governor, about my influence on national policy, about my upcoming appointment. They'd been wrong about everything. And now finally they knew it. The car pulled away toward Richmond, toward a future that didn't require their validation to be real. I'd been seated at the children's table, my empty chair mocked and pitted. But I'd never actually been alone. And I'd never actually been failing. I'd just been building something too significant for them to see, until a governor walked in and made them look. The drive back to Richmond was quiet at first. James held my hand while his security detail followed in the car behind us. My phone had been buzzing non-stop since we left. Texts from relatives I hadn't heard from in years, Instagram follows from Amanda's friends who'd ignored me at the reception, messages from Marcus's law firm colleagues wanting to connect. Regrets? James asked finally. About us going public? Never. About the timing? Maybe a little. He smiled. Your sister will forgive you. She already has, actually. Did you see her face when I mentioned the inaugural ball? That was strategic. It was necessary. Can't have my future wife's family thinking she's a failure. He paused. Speaking of which, my chief of staff called during the reception. The press got wind of my appearance at the wedding. They want to do a formal announcement about our relationship before Monday. Your future wife? I caught the phrase he'd slipped in so casually. James pulled a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. I was going to wait until after the inaugural ball, but sitting at that table with teenagers while your family pitted you changed my mind. He opened the box, revealing a simple platinum band with a single diamond. Natalie Kimball, will you marry me? My heart stopped. James. I know it's fast. I know the timing is complicated. But I also know I love you and I'm tired of hiding it. I want the world to know you're brilliant, accomplished, and mine. Yes, I said, tears blurring my vision. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on my finger just as we pulled up to the governor's mansion. Security opened the door, and I stepped out wearing an engagement ring that would be photographed by morning. My phone buzzed again. A text from Amanda. Mom just told me you're engaged to the governor. Please tell me it's true and not just her being dramatic. I took a photo of my hand with the ring and sent it to her. Her response came immediately. Oh my God. I'm the worst sister in history. Congratulations. I love you. And I'm so sorry. I typed back, I love you too. We'll talk tomorrow. James wrapped his arm around me as we walked into the mansion. Ready for your life to change completely? I thought about table 9, about the empty chair they'd mocked, about the years of being dismissed and underestimated, about finally being seen. I've been ready, I said. I was just waiting for everyone else to catch up. The next morning, every news outlet ran the story. Governor Thornton engaged to nation's most influential policy director. The photos showed us leaving the wedding, my ring visible, his hand protective at my back. Amanda called at 7 a.m. Nat, you're on the front page of the Post. There's a whole article about your policy work. They're calling you the hidden architect of state reform. I was never hidden, I said gently. People just weren't looking. I know. And I promise, I'm looking now. My mother called next, then my father, then a parade of relatives suddenly interested in my life. The teenager from table 9 had posted our interaction on TikTok. That moment when the governor shows up for his girlfriend at the kids' table. And it had gone viral. But none of it mattered as much as the text from James that evening. Press conference went well. Announced engagement and your deputy director appointment simultaneously. The country is about to discover what I already knew. You're extraordinary. I looked at the ring on my finger, at the news articles praising my policy work, at the interview requests flooding my inbox. They'd mocked my empty chair, never knowing it was reserved for a governor. They'd pitted my incomplete life, never understanding I was building something remarkable. I hadn't needed their validation to be successful. But watching them finally understand what I'd been all along, that was satisfying nonetheless.